Hello, my name is Kelly Bluen. Welcome to my mini mandala series. In these videos, I show you how to make beautiful little mandalas using a few simple tools. So today I have a micron pen. Any fine line pen will work. I have a graphite pencil and a blending tool, a coin, and a piece of scrap paper with a straight edge. I'm drawing my mandala on a 6" by 6" little sketchbook, but anything you have will work. Okay, so to begin this mandala, we're going to start with our pencil and our coin, and we're going to place the coin somewhere in the middle of your paper and trace it. Go nice and light with the pencil. And there you have the center of your mandala. After you have that first circle drawn, we're going to take our pencils and we're going to create a horizontal line. So I'm going to just divide this in half and then extend those lines out on both sides. I'm also going to divide it in half vertically and extend those lines out as well. Then I'm going to do each of these 4 quadrants by dividing that little section in half and extending it out. I do not use a ruler or a measuring tool for these because I like the effect of just the hand-drawn look. I love little mistakes, little oddities, and unevenness. None of that bothers me. I like to draw mandalas for relaxing, not for the perfectionism. So if you want to use a compass and a ruler, please feel free to do that. Okay, now that we've got our little circle and our pieces all divided, I feel like I'm going really quickly tonight. I don't mean to, but we're only 2.5 minutes into the video and we're already like going so strong here. Okay. Now I'm going to measure about 1 pencil width out. And I'm gonna make a little dash. I forgot to grab my scrap paper. Okay, grab your scrap paper first and place the bottom edge right at the top of your circle. And then measure out about 1 pencil width and make a little line on the scrap paper and also onto your book. The next line we're going to make is going to be about 1/2 a pencil width. So it's going to be just a little bit smaller, like that. And then we're going to make this next one 1/2 again. So we have kind of a wide one and then 2 narrow ones. And then when I move my scrap paper, my little lines should be on there. I'm going to move it over to this next line and extend those little dashes out. And I continue all the way around. And then you should have 3 lines crossing each of those big lines that we made. And then we're going to connect these. So I'm going to go from this first little dash over to this one, and I'm going to do a slight curve because we are making a circle. And I go so lightly with my pencil. And then I have 2 more circles to make doing that same technique. So nice and light with my pencil, just connecting those little lines. And then I have one more section to do. And then we have our beautiful mandala grid that we're going to work on today. It's a little bit more difficult making those lines close together, so hopefully that wasn't too tricky. Okay, once you get those done, we're going to pick up our pen. And usually I start a mandala by filling in the middle and then making this first circle. But I just realized that the last mandala, I didn't even make this circle, we just crossed right over it right away. Let me show you. So we crossed right over that center, and we're actually going to do that again. That was not on purpose, doing this 2 times in a row, but that's what we're doing. So you should be experts at it if you did it already last week. Okay, so last week we made like a curve and we went to a point. This time we're gonna make it nice and round like a flower petal. So I'm gonna start at the center, I'm gonna go up, curl, and down. And I'm going to do all of these. They do not need to be very wide. Just nice and round. We cross over that first circle out to that next one. That's where our bump hits and comes back down. I love how that grid helps us get all 8 of those petals in. They all look beautiful. Okay, did you get yours done? All right, now we're going to do these 2 lines here, and we're going to use, I guess it's 2 sections, but 3 lines. We're going to use all of these little intersecting points. So I'm going to put a dot right here and right here. So I just chose one section, and I put a dot on both ends of that center line. And now what I want to do is put a dot in the middle up here and the middle down here. So up there and down here. And then we're just going to make a diamond. We're going to connect that one, that one, and that one. Then we're going to go to the next section. We have a dot here already. Put a dot on this side. And we're going to put a dot in the middle at the top and the bottom. And then just make this little diamond shape. You're going to notice that some of your sections are wider than other ones. That's okay. It's already happening to me. Put in your 4 dots. Connect. I love this diamond shape against the roundness of the petals. Gives us a little variation and a little interest. I really like how that looks. I'll give you a moment to finish yours. Okay, so in these outer diamond shapes, we're going to do something. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. This is something that we do in Zentangle. All right, every time I focus, it shifts my view. I'm not sure why. Okay, we're going to put an oval right here tucked into the largest area of that diamond. And we're going to do that on all of them. Just put in a little oval. Every line adds interest. It looks kind of messy right now because we have all of our pencil lines in there, but once we erase those, this is going to look amazing. Okay, once you get all of your ovals in, we're going to go back to that first one that we did. And we're going to do an oval that sort of tucks in behind. So I'm going to start it like this and then just tuck it in. See how I did that? I kind of came off the side and squeezed it in. And then I have room for one more on both sides. Take my pen, I'm going to ink in these little extra areas that are left behind. Like that. And I'm going to give this one a little reflection. So on this one, basically making the letter C, I'm going to start here, come around and connect, and then over here I'm going to make a backwards C. And then I'm going to do these smaller ones and ink in what is left. Add that little reflection and go to the next one. What a beautiful way to fill in a space. Little letter C and backwards C. I love mandalas for so many reasons, but mostly I think because of the repeated patterns. Even if you were to make a little mistake, just repeat it all the way around, and then it looks like it was on purpose. I like that once I've committed to a design in one area, my brain can take a little break and I don't have to think about the next design. I can just spend a few minutes repeating what I just did. Then I'm going to take a minute and I'm just going to fix some of these lines by adding a little bit of a darker line where it's needed. Make sure you got all those little areas filled in. Okay. Are we ready to keep going? If not, go ahead and pause and come back when you're ready. Okay, for these inside petals, there's so many different things you can do. My typical go-to is like a line, dot, 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 line, dot, dot, dot. I love doing that. Or you could just do little bumps that continue to grow. That is also fun, but I also like to teach you kind of new things or help you think out of the box. So I'm going to try something, see what you think before you try it. I'm going to make a curve that goes up the side and crosses over here. Okay, so watch. I'm going to cross over. Then I'm going to do the same thing on this side, and it's going to cross over up here. And now I've just made this really cool design. So I'm going to do that on all of these. I'm going to cross over. Come up the side, cross over, come up the other side and cross over. Isn't that just fun? I really like that. Go up one side, then go up the other side. And once you have those done, I'm sure you could just like take a moment to imagine all the different ways that you could add lines or patterns to this. We could go back and do like the line dot dot, a line dot dot, keeping these middles like a little flower petal. You could make these middle parts dark. You could add in some orbs, you could add in some striping. I mean, there's so many things you could do. But what I want to do is what we did up here where we kind of squished in these little oval orbs. So that's what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do it with circles. So I'm going to take this first one here and I'm going to put a circle right in the middle like that. Then I'm going to do that little curve, and if I have room, another curve. And then ink in those little extra areas and add a reflection. So I put in that circle in the middle, the biggest part, and then put in these little outer curves. Depending on how many fit, you might only be able to do one extra. That's okay. This one I was able to get 2 on one side and only 1 on the other. That's all right. I love inking in those little extra areas. This is where using a finer point pen would probably be helpful because we're getting into some tiny little details. What do you think? Do you like that? Okay, once you get those done, we still have some little sections here that we can decorate. All I'm going to do is put an orb in each of those and ink in the area around it and add a little reflection. The first time I did it, I put in these little stripes, but then I felt like it looked like a carrot and I didn't want to do that for some reason, so I'm doing little orbs. You can do whatever you want. I tend to put my little reflection marks all different directions, not on purpose, it's just what I do. They probably should all face the same direction, as if there's light coming from one area and causing all of these to reflect on the same side, but I don't think that deep about it. I just put them in and hope it looks okay. like how that turned out. Okay, are we ready to keep going? All right, the next thing I want to do is aura the outside. So I also want to make sure that I'm not doing like a scoop. I want it to be like a diamond. So I really want to, you know, make these straight. Does that make sense? I want to highlight those angles and not just swerve it like a scoop. I love how much ink and how many dark areas we have in such a small area. I just think this looks different than the first, 80 mandalas we've done. I like each one to look just unique if I can. So I think this one is really cool. Okay, we could be done there, but I'm gonna add something else. So I love all these little orbs and round things that we've done. So I'm going to put a circle or an orb tucked into each of these little V shapes. I'm going to try to keep them about the same size. And then I'm going to add an aura to each of those. And the aura is going to just tuck in behind. So we can only aura the part of the circle that's not touching that little V shape. Okay, what do you think? Do you like it? If you want to keep going, you could add some more little orbs to the sides of each of these, but I kind of like mine looking like this. I also didn't put reflections in these outer ones. I don't know why, I just feel like they were kind of small and I just liked them nice and clean like that. So I think I'm going to leave mine just like this. I'm going to initial it, of course, and do a little bit of shading, but I just don't want to keep going because I feel like this looks so good like this. So here's my initials, KJB. And then we'll do some shading. Before I shade, I do want to erase my pencil lines. So I'm gonna get out my little eraser. Oh, there's my penny. I was looking for that. There it was from last week. Make sure my ink is all dry and not going to smudge. And then just very gently Erase those pencil lines. Beautiful. I'm going to zoom out for a moment just so you can see the size of this. I just love how small and kind of pocket-sized it is. You know, we could keep going and turn this into a giant mandala, which is amazing and such a piece of artwork when you're done. But I just love these little mini ones that I can do in about a half an hour. And they just bring a little bit of calm and, I don't know, connection maybe. So I really like them this size. Okay, let's do some shading. We are not going to shade a lot because there is a lot of ink in this. And I don't really want to cover up all the little details. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put a tiny bit around the outside of each of these little petals. So just really lightly with my pencil, going along the outside edge. And then I'm going to go along the inside edge of these. So one thing I love about this particular mandala is that we have this like little floating thing in the middle. Then we have some beautiful white space before the next detail. And so I really do want to leave that space nice and bright, but I want to add a little bit of shading so it gives it some depth. So with my blending tool, this is not a very sharp one, but with my blending tool, I'm just gonna soften that outside edge a tiny bit, just so it looks more like a shadow and less like a pencil line. That was so quick. I did not pull it way into the white. Same thing now with this edge here. I'm going to soften it, but try to keep it really close to that dark edge so we don't get graphite all inside that white area. Now see how pretty that is, that you can still see some of that really nice clean white. I like that. When that's done, I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to go around this outer edge. And first I'm going to do all of these V shapes. And I'm just going right over those circles and close as I can to that line. And then I'm going to go around the outside of each of those circles also. With my blending tool, I'm going to go up and down each of these V shapes. And I'm not pulling it out too far. And then I'm also going to go around each of those circles. If you ever feel like you have too much graphite, you can take your kneaded eraser if you have one, and you can dab at it and pick some of that up. What I like about the shading on this one is that we did not shade any of the patterns that we made. We shaded the outer edges of everything, and what it did is kept all of this dark and intricate detail work nice and clean, and then put the shadows on the background. So it made this and this area kind of pop up off the paper a little bit, and we didn't do any shading on the inside, and I kind of love that technique. So there we go. That was episode 81. As always, down below I will write the episode number, the date, and then I write just a couple of sentences about what is going on in my life, what is going on in my heart, and just kind of a nice little reminder of what was on my mind this week. So thank you so much for joining me. Please go to my Facebook page called Let's Tangle and share your work. Every Sunday I do a show and tell. I would love to see the mandalas that you are creating. I would love to see how you took this one and maybe changed it up and made it your own. You can also subscribe to my emails if you would like. That is at www.minsofzen.com, minsofzen.com. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.